Hey everyone, welcome to TechCrunch Live, where we help founders build better venture-backed businesses. I'm Matt Burns, and today we're talking about layoffs. They're everywhere. Meta just announced another 10,000 cut, and it's getting bad out there. And there's a lot of industries that are cutting, but there are some industries that are still growing and spending, including cybersecurity and compliance. I'm excited to have Vanta CEO Christina Cacioppo and Sequoia partner Andrew Reed to speak on Vanta's growth, particularly around hiring, while everyone else is firing. Christina started Vanta in 2016 and has raised about $2 million to date, including its latest round in October of last year. For those joining us, Vanta is really interesting. It's a one-stop shop for compliance and security automation. And startups often have to implement all these different security standards like SOC 2, HIPAA, GDPR, to name a few. And I mean, listen, a lot of businesses out there won't get very far these days without showing off their compliance status. And sometimes they don't have the resources to handle the tedious and incredibly boring work that compliance is. But clearly that's working for Vanta, because where some of the biggest tech companies are laying off thousands, startups like Vanta are continuing to grow. And so I'm thrilled to have Christina and Andrew, who invested in Vanta, to talk about this trend. But I'm not doing the interview. To do that, I enlisted the help of TechCrunch's security editor, Zach Whitaker. He's a great guy, incredibly knowledgeable, and so very funny. He's going to do this interview because he really cares about this stuff. But you need to stick through to the end. These guys are going to take about 25 minutes of questions. We're going to do 10 minutes of questions and answers from the audience. If you want to ask them a question, you have to put your question in, hop in. And those links should be on Twitter and YouTube and Facebook right now. But with that, I'm going to turn the show over to Zach. Zach, it's all you.
Hey, thanks, Matt. Thanks so much. Christina, Andrew, thanks so much for joining us today. It's really good to have you here. I'll just start by saying, Vanta, am I right in saying that you folks raised, it was 200 million in the last few years? Is that right?
Yes, that is correct.
And the last round was, I think, it was what, 150 million last year alone, I think. Is that right? Yeah.
Correct. Raised in kind of the teeth of the 2022 downturn.
So look, I'll start by saying I'm a security guy. I'm not a securities guy. And while we'll talk about cyber in a few minutes, I really wanted to start by noting the big news that continues to break, and that's the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank and the wider impact that's having on the startup community. And TechCrunch has been covering this extensively from when the news first broke last week, that the bank relied on by countless founders was in trouble. Christina, tell me, is Vanta affected by the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank at all?
Yeah, we were really fortunate to not have been impacted either in our ability to deliver for customers or just our operations of running Vanta day to day.
And so many other companies are affected. What are you hearing from your founder peers and colleagues at other companies about how the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank is affecting them?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a tense weekend for everyone, whether or not there was, money in SVB or not. Just because, I mean, a couple of reasons, right? Running startups is kind of hard enough. Anything that makes it harder isn't super appreciated. Stating the obvious, but having put your money in a bank account is usually the last thing you worry about as a founder until it becomes the first thing. I think in terms of like founder WhatsApp groups, right, a ton of questions. And then just the broad trend I'm seeing now is folks looking to move their money into several banks, or at least, maybe most of the company's money is in one bank. And then you have, a month of payroll in 1 to 2 others, which I think makes a ton of sense given, what's transpired over the last week. But it is a little wild just because, again, as a founder, cash management, diversifying across multiple savings accounts was really not top of the list a week ago.
Well, I'm really glad things are obviously looking okay for you folks. Andrew, it must have been a pretty stressful week. What are you telling your portfolio companies right now?
I think it was probably peak founder WhatsApp group, peak group chat over the weekend. It sure was tense. I think we've had a long-standing message to diversify deposits. I think that message still exists. I think arguably SVB is one of the safest places in the world to have your money right now. Is one of 2 institutions in the U.S. that are government guaranteed, insured and uninsured deposits. So I think the message is the same. I think the real lesson here is, number one, take nothing for granted. To Christina's point, you really have to examine where in the business are there single points of failure, kind of existential thunderbolt of Zeus risk, and try to mitigate those in advance.
So look, I mean, I know a lot of folks are breathing a huge sigh of relief after this incredibly stressful, few days. On one hand, we have a big bank failing, and yet here we are, companies like Vanta are growing. Christina, for those watching and wondering, compliance, really? Where did your company come from? Where did Vanta come from, and what problem are you trying to solve?
Yeah, compliance is actually great. I think it's just really misunderstood. But started Vanta in this category of automated compliance in 2018. And really the thrust behind it was helping emerging companies, often startups, achieve and maintain some amount of a security posture and then compliance faster, so that they could go, 1, be more secure in general, and then 2, use that security to go build trust with their customers. So I first ran into this problem when I was a product manager at Dropbox. I didn't really know what SOC 2 meant. It just seemed like this huge blocker at the time. But after leaving Dropbox, kind of talked to more startups and just heard how tedious and time-consuming and expensive the compliance process was. but then on the flip side, how valuable it was, right? How it let small startups compete with much larger incumbents and like compete on the strength of their product, not on their compliance certifications, right? And so there was sort of this aha moment in there of just realizing that, the best way to get especially growing companies to really prioritize security is to tie security to business growth. And again, that compliance very much drives business growth for these companies. So that was just the beginning. Since then, we've kind of evolved what was just automated compliance into this concept of a trust management platform, like helping companies understand the risk that they're facing, figure out what's going on across a bunch of data sources, really enrich that, and then remediate and track issues. So they are, both secure, and then they can go use that to build trust with their customers.
And so break this down for me. Over the past year, how many people have you hired at Vanta versus laid off?
Oh, goodness. Probably about 150. It's my rough guess. That might not be quite right, but it's in that ballpark.
150
very
hiring.
Much grown.
Yeah.
Correct.
And layoffs?
We did do a small riff in December of last year, early December. And that was much less about, the people themselves and more just as we learned about the business in 2022, there were, bets that I took that didn't pay off, roles that we thought we needed that we didn't.
And as companies grow, obviously, redundancies sometimes obviously happen and over time. What is the driving decision at the growth of your company, at the pace that your company is going? What was the decision to make those layoffs now?
Yeah, I think it was honestly just looking at a lot of companies did this, but like grew very quickly throughout 2021 and 2022. I think Vanta was quite fortunate, and actually a lot of our bets paid off. We also, grew our, tripled or quadrupled our customer base in that time. But also we weren't 100% right in our planning or our hiring. And, taking a moment mid last year and just kind of looking at that. And I kind of feel like as founder and person ultimately responsible for Vanta, you just kind of look at some of the roles and say, this doesn't make sense. And I can either, grapple with that now and take care of these folks as best I can, or I can kind of ignore it, but the problem is going to persist, right? And so that's sort of the why now behind it.
So Andrew, tell us a little bit why you invested in Vanta. What was it about Vanta's pitch that hooked you?
So we led Vanta's Series A back in 2021, the very beginning of 2021. And I think by and large, when we evaluate up-and-coming companies, there are three things that really matter. It's the founder and the team, it's the product, and it's the momentum, right? The metrics. And I think I was introduced to Christina through Dylan Field, the founder of Figma, who did I think I've told people this. It was the only first and only ever non-opt-in intro Dylan's ever given to me, where he just put me on an email with Christina and said, you guys should meet. So I took that as some signal. So I scheduled a call with Christina, I think the same day or the next morning. And, I focused on global internet and software companies. And like many people, I saw compliance and I'll figure it out when I kind of get on the call. And then when Christina laid out this vision of kind of this double bottom line where if Vanta succeeds, it will make the startups that the entire world started to rely on in 2020 incredibly more secure and trustworthy to do business with, because better or worse, the entire world now relies on software companies. And second, it would help those companies compete on an equal playing field with their big established incumbents and win based on the products themselves, not on, the hand-to-hand combat in the deal process. Because I think for people who are on the outside and they hear about compliance standards, they think, oh, someone else has taken care of that. It's sort of a, back office problem. For people who are trying to grow software companies, that deals push at the end of quarter because you don't have the right compliance and you don't have the right trustworthiness. And the unfortunate reality is it's the biggest deals that tend to push because of this, right? So it is a truly hair on fire problem And then that showed up with the numbers of Vanta. So at the time, I think Vanta had scaled to over 1,000 customers, over 10 million of revenue without raising a Series A. Christina's a spectacular founder with a fantastic vision for Vanta, and also I think just operational excellence across the board. So it was a fairly straightforward investment decision for Sequoia. Now at the time, when the company had gotten to 10 million of revenue and 1,000 customers and, hadn't raised a Series A yet, let's just say that it was not unnoticed. I think we did a poll and, Vanta had dozens of customers within the Sequoia portfolio already, all of whom spoke highly of the product. Like it was sort of an open secret how well the company was doing. And it was the decision for Christina, I think, was more about, who she wanted to partner with to scale Vanta to the next level rather than, any particular burning business problem at the time.
And so this was 2021. So we're full-blown pandemic and an inevitable financial crisis was on the horizon. And you thought compliance was the thing that was going to bring the startups forward. And that's what you invested. So that must have been like a really difficult decision at a time when things in the world did not look so good.
I think Christina and I we ended up going on a hike actually as part of the, it was during the pandemic.
During pandemic, yes.
Yeah, a good hike negotiation.
A socially distanced hike.
Exactly.
Socially distanced photo as well.
That's right. Yeah, no, I mean, I think when you talk to Vanta's both current customers at the time and then prospective customers, it was pretty clear that in the eyes of sales teams, product teams, founders, to the extent that this could genuinely automate a lot of this grungy compliance work that would take 6-9 months and turn it into 6 or 9 weeks and get us these things faster, it was a sign up here sort of moment, right? And you put the product in front of people, they said, I would love to have this. And then you have to, I think, one of the questions that would come up is, well, is this a product that's only for startups? And is, startup formation going to come to an end when, the market cycle turns? And I think my personal opinion is, I think there's something of a misunderstanding of just how much has changed that make it genuinely straightforward to start and scale software companies all over the world. Think about cloud services, think about using something like Stripe for payments, think about open source software, online marketing, right? There's, I personally believe that there are going to be many tens to hundreds of thousands of software companies that support the global internet economy. And I think all of them are going to have to grapple with data security, privacy, and ultimately compliance. And I think Vanta is going to serve all of them.
So compliance is, for some, admittedly, might seem like a bit of a dry topic, even though it is incredibly important for what we do in this world. So Christina, what do startups get wrong when they're approaching compliance? Is there any one particular thing that they're not thinking through, or is it multiple things? Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, okay, a couple things. I think, a very reasonable question for a startup is, this sounds important. I watched this webinar where people said it was important, but why should I do this tomorrow? Because, by the way, I'm a founder of a small startup and I have 9,000 other things going on right now, right? And just trying to figure out, it's interesting, actually. When we started Vanta in 2018, the prevailing wisdom was startups didn't need this and wouldn't need this. It was only for big companies. That is now very much shifted. I was actually at an event last week with much of the current Y Combinator batch, and companies just kept coming up and saying, I'm a Vanta customer. And it was a little wild because when I went through YC 5 years ago, we didn't sell to anyone in our batch. Anyway, so it's all to say it's become this like, when should I do it? Not should I do this as a small startup? And I think just building on something Andrew said earlier, kind of startups are finding that, they have these revenue goals. They want to get these like initial customers over the line, right? Your first customers help you get your second and third and all of that. And doing so much work and building a champion and, then getting to procurement and saying, hey, we're going to block you because you don't have this thing is just like the most frustrating and demoralizing. And so I think what we often see is companies prioritizing this earlier, increasingly early. I think the other reason, people don't do it is it seems like, again, I can do the work now, I can do the work later. One thing we've really found is because compliance is designed to be this holistic insight into a company's security, right? It does scale with the company's complexity. So the more complicated your technical infrastructure, the more customer data you have, the more employees you have, that's just all harder. And there is actually a lot of value to starting early, setting the practices and norms so that when these companies add 100 people in the year, they're onboarding them to this system where it just seems normal to these new people, right? Versus needing to go back and say, hey, now I need everybody to do this other thing, and can we all band together and do it? It's totally feasible.
That seems to be like
more difficult. Yeah,
that seems to be a common theme, is trying start from the very beginning, because going back and backfilling something is often a lot more difficult. But then in terms of a lot of, as you mentioned, a lot of people these days focus on security as compliance, and yet you've got companies out there who are making simple but big mistakes, like leaving entire databases exposed to the internet without a password. So I'm kind of curious, from your perspective, how much of compliance, in terms of the policies, the laws, and so on, as we know it, is broken itself? How much of compliance do we need to fix the underlying layer before we can provide the good security advice to companies?
Yeah. So one thing we found when we were looking at this a couple of years ago is compliance, and a lot of these regulations, pick your standard or your kind of item in the alphabet soup, but they're written at this really high level, right? Like, we as a company say we protect customer data and actually do it. And that's fine. But I think actually where a lot of this stuff can get really broken is in the implementation of that, right? And like, what does it mean to protect customer data well? And when you sort of let companies define that for themselves, you get a bunch of variation there, for good and bad. So one of our initial approaches was to be very prescriptive and say, okay, you want to protect customer data, here are the 6 things you should do. I think that worked really well for the early startup audience that did want to do the right thing and, again, wanted to prove trust with their customers. Over time, we relaxed some of that, right? Because, big companies, experts within companies do have their own take on that. But I don't know, I think of it a little less about I think the regulations themselves are often, right, they are trying to write something universal and global for everyone. And so you just end up being very high level and abstracted. And that's fine. It's not really kind of the fault of that part of the stack, but it really pushes on the implementation and what are the companies actually doing there?
And then one more.
So on the flip, I was going to say, actually, Andrew, on the flip side of that, like, what does it signal to an investor like you when you look for companies? Are you looking for their compliance as well? What is it that signals to you that a company is on top of its compliance when you look to invest in them?
Yeah, I think the other thing that was true about this industry pre-Vanta was it was really a point in time snapshot of a company's security policy. It was screenshots from 9 months ago that we did have this system configured in this way, or these employees have these tools. And that is obviously useful, but it does not tell you what is going on today. And obviously breaches matter today. The threats do not care what policies you had in place 9 months ago. And one of the, probably intended consequences of a tool like Vanta is, once you have it instrumented with your systems, you have a real-time view of your security posture, and that allows you to know when things are exposed and know when things are, at risk, and then immediately remediate them, as opposed to relying on, in the preparation for the next audit, 9 months from now, we will do something. So anyway, I think the use of continuous monitoring systems like Vanta genuinely improve the likelihood that companies protect themselves, just so they can stay compliant and not have to worry about it. And I think that's a sort of a nice and often underappreciated aspect of products like this. Now, your question.
Go ahead. Sorry, Andrew.
No, I was just going to say, and honestly, at this point, we do rely on outputs from systems like Vanta to make sure that our companies are doing a good job too.
So then, in terms of looking at the costs of compliance, Christina, I'm sure you can answer this. What's the cost of, say, Vanta or doing compliance through a company as opposed to doing it yourself?
Yeah. Okay. So doing it yourself, and that was the alternative, to Vanta. And honestly, again, folks told us you couldn't build software here. But what that looks like is getting a consultant who might be an individual. It might be, part of a large Deloitte or professional services firm. And their first step is to go interview everybody at your company and talk about what you would like your security position to be and what the kind of the rules you want to follow, controls and compliance speak. And then sort of develop a perspective on what that should be. And then, you have that in a spreadsheet. And then it's like, okay, well, which of the rules are we following and which are we not? And this is to Andrew's point, where it's like, well, let's go get a screenshot of, this configuration screen in the cloud infrastructure tool and see what it looks like. And then, okay, so we're, anyway, and then you kind of assign a bunch of action items out of that. And that's kind of readiness, is what it's called, right? And then once that feels good, you go and get an auditor who's probably a CPA to come in. And then, it's like, okay, you schedule them to come in next Wednesday. They're going to go ask for all these screenshots again, and they're going to ask you to log in. And so they can see you log in and see the live dashboards and take screenshots. So, if they're coming in on Wednesday, you're probably running around on Tuesday, making sure everything is again, all buttoned up. And then the auditor will take all that information and go back and write this really detailed 80-page PDF that describes, hey, here are the rules the company said they followed. Here's what I actually saw. Here's my assessment overall. And then that's the PDF you use for 12 months. And so that process, kind of $50,000 was a cheap version of it. But I also think, of course, then that goes up to the, 7 figures. But I think one of the undervalued pieces is the other cost, not dollars, but was you needed so much of your company to support this, right? And it was often engineers, it was often senior engineers. And right, so you're kind of losing, again, your most senior engineers for, whatever, 1 to 6 months to shepherd through this process. And that cost was even more real and salient, honestly. And so we'd talk to companies that'd be like, oh yeah, I can pay the 50K, but I'm not giving up my CTO. So we're just not doing this right now. But that's what I guess the other part of that is, but then you talk to companies too, and they'd say, hey, if I had a SOC 2, here's how much more business I think I would have. Right. And so that was some of what just gave us the confidence to think, okay, if we can drop the cost of this process, the dollar cost, but really the time cost for the company, more companies will go through it because the output is so valuable.
And I think to your point as well, I think a lot of folks forget that compliance isn't just a one-time thing. It's a continual effort year over year. I'm kind of curious at how that plays with the business model as well. And Andrew, I'd like you to speak to this as well, because, obviously with continuous compliance, that's essentially long-term revenue for your company. So I imagine that's in itself doing well for business.
Yeah,
there aren't. Go ahead. I would say there are not many examples of software products where people decide, midstream, I want to go back to the manual way of doing things, right? I would rather be pulling all this data by hand. So I do think there's an element of Vanta where once you have it set up this way, this is how you want to scale your company. And to Christina's point, companies naturally get more complex as they grow. So hence the actual manual job of handling this stuff gets harder as you grow. So to some degree, the value of Vanta actually gets significantly more meaningful when you go from 15 to 50 to 250 employees and all the associated customer data, employee data, system stuff. And I think that is, the vision that we have for the company, which is, we will hope to empower each successive generation of startups to compete and win on the merits of their own products with a fantastic footing and good security posture, and help them scale up and make that process as secure and as efficient as possible, and help those companies to the extent the internet economy is going to look very different in 20 years, I think all of those companies should have, real-time status page equivalents that let anybody who are considering doing business with them be able to, verify they want to.
Yeah. And to your point, Christina, as well, I wanted to ask you just one last question about this, really, because, obviously what sets Vanta apart from some of the biggest tech titans, they've laid off thousands of people over the last few weeks alone. And at your company, layoffs have been minimal. So what sets Vanta apart from the tech titans? Is it a case of being nimble? Is it a matter of size? Is it strategy? Is it all three? Is it more? I'd love to hear more about this.
Goodness. It's just funny because I think I live in this world where like the kind of apples and oranges comparison, but I do think, right, again, one thing we've really benefited from is Vanta, the product, is just purpose built to help companies do more with less. And that can be true of emerging hypergrowth companies, that can be true of established companies, that can be true of, baby startups. But kind of Andrew's point, there's a deep efficiency here. It's also deeply tied to revenue, right? Security and compliance that we talked about are this must for every business. And I think those two pieces have like really fueled our growth, even into this environment where it is do more with less, like focus on, controlled revenue growth or like responsible or leveraged revenue growth. Right. I think those things have really helped Vanta through this period.
We have a quick question from the audience for Andrew. What's the best way to pitch to Sequoia, and what sort of companies are you investing right now? I think that's probably the question that a lot of people will be asking as well right now.
Well, there's a very straightforward answer, which is that we all have our emails on the website. And despite that, we get shockingly few direct emails to those addresses. I think I would encourage anyone just to email me, and I will route you appropriately.
And so, obviously, things are going, pretty well for Vanta right now. Christina, what top bit of advice would you give to other founders today?
Oh, something around, just really understanding your business and also some encouragement that you as a founder are the expert in your business, right? You've like lived this day in, day out for however long, probably on the order of years. And there's a lot of really good advice and really like smart, well-intentioned people who can and will help you, but you're the expert on your business deeply as well.
And Andrew, last final thought as we're approaching time, is there any last bit of advice that you'd give founders out there who are looking to look for their next funding round?
Yeah, I think there is a trope that we'll occasionally talk about here at Sequoia. I've never heard a founder say, "I started this company because there are low interest rates." Right? I think founders start companies because they see a problem and feel compelled to go fix it. And what I'd say is this is probably one of, if not the single most exciting moment in the tech cycle that I and we have ever seen at Sequoia. And obviously, this past weekend was a particularly low moment on the market cycle, and market gyrations have existed for as long as Sequoia has been in business, which is 50 years now. But we funded Cisco right after the crash of 87. We funded Google and PayPal right after the crash of 99. Founders, if you see a problem and want to go fix it, just go do it, because market cycles come and go, and market opportunities are here to stay.
So we're about to hit cap on our time for this interview, but we're not done with the show yet. Before I turn the show back over to Matt, I just want to say thank you again, Christine and Andrew, for the conversation. Back to you, Matt.
What do you mean, Andrew, nobody emails you? You don't get any pictures over email?
Very few.
I get hundreds a day. Can I share some of mine with you?
Well, I think I think people see the immediate value that you can provide to them, whereas ours is a little bit farther away.
Can I ask just one last quick question? Because I have to know the answer. What's your email strategy, Andrew? If you're letting your email go wild. Like, how do you
Yeah.
handle so many emails every day? How do you read them? Do you
you
read
should
them all?
ask you should ask Christina for
Okay.
my average email response time.
I was thinking of either chiming in. It's about 92 seconds on average, I'd say.
Do you know
At
who
some
else?
point in the next few months, I'm going to test that and not tell you when I'm going to do that. I'm going to let you.
I also think his average email length is 6 words, but you get 6 words in 92 seconds. So like it's pretty good.
That's good to know. All right. Well, we're not done with the show yet. We're gonna do some pitch practice here. Andrew, you said that founders don't found companies because of low interest rates, but they still need to pitch you when interest rates are all over the world. So we need to talk about this. So we're gonna go into pitch practice. Pitch practice is our segment of the show where 3 companies come on and they're going to present for 2 minutes. And the goal is just to give them feedback on their pitch. What worked, what doesn't work, what's missing, what should they add. So we've lined up 3 companies. They were just selected. And the first one is Hummingbird AI. And Nima is here to present Hummingbird. Nima, I can see you now. There you are.
Hummingbirds, plural.
Oh, very good. Well, correct me. You have 2 minutes to correct me.
Awesome.
Go ahead.
Hi there, I'm Nima Shea, the leader bird at Hummingbirds AI. I'm a neuroscientist and a pioneer of ultra-efficient and robust decision makers. At Hummingbirds AI, we are all about making the future of work more efficient and secure using Vision AI. But let me ask you this. Are you tired of entering your computer's password for the 20th time a day? Trust me, you are not alone. It's a major frustration for employees everywhere. And for organizations, manual access to computer is not just time-consuming and costly, but it also comes with security risks and can negatively impact employees' performance. That's why we created Guacamole ID, our first application that automates logins and logouts and continuously ensures only the right person sees the content on the screen. It's the fastest and most convenient way to access your computers, making access touchless and passwordless. And the best part, any organization, no matter how big or small, can benefit from the automation of access to computers, from healthcare to financial industry, education, and public safety. It's 128 million computers in the US alone and billions worldwide. Right now, we are running paid pilots with several public safety departments and universities. And with our volume-based subscription model, we are making it affordable and accessible for everyone. What sets Guacamole ID apart is that it doesn't replace legacy authentication tools. Instead, we augment them. And with our team of 11, led by experienced tech, cybersecurity, and marketing entrepreneurs, with several successful exit stories, you can trust us to deliver results. So what are you waiting for? Every computer has chips. It's time for Guacamole. Thank you.
Holy moly, that was good. All right, very good. Andrew, can we start with you? Any feedback?
Yeah, well, thank you. And spur of the moment feedback you should always take with a grain of salt on the chips with the guacamole for also a terrible food pun.
That was good.
I think the vision is very compelling. I think breaches like LastPass and others make it very obvious that this is a severe risk point. And I think the best pitches lay out the vision for the future. And I think your vision of passwordless and auth is solved and all of that is compelling. The kind of work back to reality of like how actually this gets how it works, right? Because this has been a problem that has been in the works for decades, and I think where I have now is I have a clearly a big vision and then a very clearly charismatic, compelling entrepreneur, but I don't know how to draw the lines backwards into how it's going to work.
That's good. All right, Christina.
I don't know if I have much to add. I agree with what Andrew said, salt notwithstanding. I think for my personal bias, I guess, is I love to hear customer stories or prospect stories or, pilot stories, right? And so you mentioned you were piloting with a handful of large institutions, very exciting. My very naive take is, oh, that sounds exciting, but it sounded like a couple very different institutions. And so it sounds like they might not have figured out where this pain point is most acute yet. Makes sense. No one knows that in the beginning. But just as you do figure that out and figure out, which market segment industry is most interested in what you're building, being able to sprinkle in some of that into the pitch. And I think that might also help, just to Andrew's point, the compelling vision to like reality bridge, to the extent you can bring customers to bear in that. I think that'd be really powerful.
Thank you.
All right, Nima. Well, thank you so much for presenting. And I think we're about out of time because guacamole is extra.
Thank you.
All right. That was a really, my producer wrote that joke and I read it wrong. So that was on me. It was supposed to be funny and I didn't make it funny. Thank you for participating and please join again next time.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. That guy was great. I liked him a lot. All right. Next we have John Aaron. John is coming from Aeronautics. John, are you there? I see you. You can turn on your camera and your mic. There you are. Hello, John.
This one too?
You're good to go. You got 2 minutes to present your company starting now.
Thank you. So I am John Aaron of Aeronautics, and today is cheaper and easier to get online. And after intrusions to my home network from foreign adversaries, I found gaps in the approaches to security, compatibilities, and ideologies. Not only was this unacceptable, but it was frightening and the cost compounded, because traditional and contemporary information security solutions are stuck in the past. Consumer and enterprise techniques typically revolve around the analysis of network flow and compliance. These methods are inherently flawed because they're reactionary. Looking forward, how could you guarantee ownership of your data and defend against a network perimeter that does not exist? Our solution is Thor, which provides continuous analysis and detection based on instantaneous baseline behavior of the computer and the user. Because of where it resides and how it works, we are proactive to stop cyber threats that others cannot detect. Thor is Red Hat certified technology, and other company certifications are underway. At this early stage, we are building relations as a non-traditional government contractor, and we've deployed our technology to 2 organizations, one that operates around the world. It's export control technology from the Department of Commerce, and we have traction in the Department of Defense and the intelligence community, and within public and private organizations, domestic and worldwide. The total available IT security market in 2026 is going to be $267 billion. Aeronautics offers a 1 to 3 year license, and the cost of it is determined by your business size. I lead a domestic international team from Westlake, Ohio, and to fill out the team, Aeronautics is actually raising funds to support business efforts to scale. I built software that solves an unknown intrusion. Necessity is the mother of defense. We offer a defensive digital hammer.
All right, John, thank you so much for representing the Midwest. I like that. All right, great. Christina, can we start with you?
I do also appreciate the Midwestern shout out. I also grew up in Ohio, so go Buckeyes. But more seriously, I think one thing that is helpful to a maybe more general audience or an audience who doesn't know your field super deeply and as deeply as you know it is just kind of taking a moment and explaining how your solution is different than kind of legacy like IDS intrusion detection systems, which like I imagine it is, right? Otherwise you kind of wouldn't be working on it. But I do worry a little that intrusion detection is one of these categories that has been around long enough. It like seems very crowded. There's many tools. And so kind of, I think the default take might be, oh, well, here's another one, in this kind of stodgy category, right? Which again, it's really not what you are working on at all, but just like really highlighting that differentiation for your audience.
That's good feedback. Andrew?
Yeah, and I'll just share one. First off, seems like a very worthwhile initiative, obviously. My feedback would be more on just the actual delivery of the pitch, for what it's worth. I think off-the-cuff, authentic pitch delivered with like less precision on the specific words often resonates better with investors who want to believe in a story more than the specific X certify 1 to 3 year contracts. And I think the only reason that is that in every startup investment decision, there's an element of you're really just, trying to find stories that you fundamentally believe in. And I think delivering that story, making people, feel like it's early and inevitable is more important than some of the specific details of the business model and the business plan in that first initial interaction. I think you did I didn't recognize it's hard to do it in 2 minutes, right? So you did the one sentence story of, foreign adversaries on your network. I think if you were doing the pitch with a bigger time window, I would really try to make the audience in the room feel like they were in your shoes when they discovered this, and then just talk about how it spurred, the creative instincts to start this company. Again, this is a different format than the typical investment pitch, but I think that's probably the biggest feedback I give over any of the specifics of the presentation.
I appreciate it both, Andrew and Christina. Thank you. To discover and discuss where this technology actually lives and how it behaves is much more than 120 seconds. So I appreciate the opportunity.
Well, John, thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate it. And please, you can reapply and we'll have you back on with a new pitch and new set of people.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Matthew.
Right. Yeah, of course. Okay, we have one more. We have Sasha. And Sasha is from puzzle.io. There you are, Sasha. I can see you. I can hear you.
Hello, you can hear me? All right.
All right. You have 2 minutes, sir, starting now.
Great. Hi, Christina, Andrew, Matt. My name is Sasha, and I'm here to talk to you about, I think, one of the most exciting cutting edge industries. You probably guessed it, accounting, right? Puzzle is going to set the new standard for accounting software, which I get is a big claim because there hasn't been a meaningful challenger in decades. But personally, after investing in startups, scaling startups, sitting on the boards of startups, I saw how accounting could be a competitive advantage and success. And so I wanted every ambitious founder out there and every VC that invests in ambitious founders to have those same advantages starting from day one. We view it as accounting should be a platform that empowers companies to improve their financial health instead of the dead end of their data. So we started with a few foundational things that we felt were missing. So first, you would get detailed financial statements, metrics, and insights all together in real time instead of summary reports delivered weeks after month ends. Second, you get verifiably accurate financials because fundraising, taxes, and audits are the moments where trust is either created or broken. Next, there's an intuitive design. So it makes your finances feel not just real time, but explorable to anybody, regardless of their background in accounting and finance, because you can drill down to like the why behind each and every number. And then lastly, a learning system that just gets better every day automatically instead of needing to pay somebody every day, every week, every month, again and again to do the same thing. But today, accounting software is none of this. And that limitation isn't the failure of accounting, it's the failure of accounting software. So we built Puzzle. It's the first smart accounting software for startups, and it generates all of the above and more in just about 2 minutes from landing on our website. So I think similar to Vanta, Puzzle works with the tools you already use, and it starts automating and improving your accounting posture right away. And then it guides you to what to do next. So we think right now is the perfect time to start the next generational accounting software. And I'm excited to hear your feedback and answer any questions.
Wait a second. I'm going to jump in here real quick. Did you guys just close a Series A?
We just launched a couple of weeks ago. We raised it a while ago, but we just announced it. 15
million, right?
Yeah.
All right. Very good. I Google everyone when they come on and that just popped up. So congratulations on that.
Thanks.
Okay, great.
Thanks.
Andrew, can we start with you?
Yeah, I should say, sorry, the lights keep turning off. Hi, Sasha. You did Lend Up, right? If I remember correctly.
Yeah.
In the prior, yeah, that's a really cool story too. So congrats on all your success, and it seems like a very cool product. Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things I should say, I'm an Excel junkie by background. I'm a finance person by love, and whenever I hear pitches about things that can truly innovate systems of record in the accounting sphere, my ears prick up because I've been in some of those systems myself and they're no fun. I do think there's a difference in products that are being launched right now. There are a bunch of kind of workflow tools around the edges that make the CFO suite slightly better, slash products that are kind of like layers on top of the underlying financial infrastructure of these companies. And then there's the system of record itself. And it wasn't obvious based on what you said that whether this is like a true QuickBooks replacement, or if this is a, kind of layer in between. And I think in general, in the capital E enterprise software space, finding a way to build a system of record one way or another is crucial. And I think especially, you've done a Series A, you have like, at this point, it's about selling. It's not about, can this product work? It's can this product be market dominant? And I think getting a little more clarity on exactly how it fits into the kind of systems of record of a business, and whether or not this either is one today or has a path to become a new one over time. It's probably where I would focus the pitch. But again, it seems like a really cool product. And I was always a big fan of LendUp, so I'd love to meet you at some point too.
Yeah, cool. Good question. Thank you. I have to do it. It is a system of record, by the way. It is a core accounting system and a financial data platform together in a single solution. But that's a good feedback. Thank you.
All right, Christina.
I would like, so founder perspective here. I would like and would have benefited from what you were describing over the last couple of years. I think the reason we didn't have it was tooling, right? Sort of your point, it wasn't, desire or will or skill set or, any of that. It was the antiquated systems that, even a startup like Vanta uses just aren't very good, especially for this sort of analysis or real-time analysis. I think it would have helped us and helped me, throughout the past couple of years, especially in the last year or so, where, you're really trying to figure out, well, what are we spending on this? Or, we're startups, so we don't have budgets, but like, how much are we doing? And those questions are just embarrassingly hard to answer. And I think, especially in this fundraising, this interest rate environment, but just in general, so helpful to founders. And to the extent there is something that is much easier, that kind of enables this sort of data and visibility, like sign me up.
Awesome.
Well, that was great. So I think you got a new customer there. I'm happy for you.
Well, I don't think they met the procurement team yet. Yours truly. So
we do have one now. Yeah.
Well, if you need our SOC 2 certificate, you just go to whatever trust.puzzle.io and see your Vanta SOC 2 certificate. Your data is safe.
Excellent.
What? I think this is a great way to end. Everyone's smiling.
Procurement's done.
Yeah.
Well, we haven't done the negotiation yet. Yeah, almost.
Well, we'll do that offline. We don't need to do that in front of people. All right. Well, I want to
thank you guys so much.
Well, yeah, I want to thank all of you guys for stopping by and talking to all of us. This has been great. Andrew, Christina, this has been great. And Sasha, thank you so much for that pitch. And it sounds like you made some new friends or old friends reconnected. Well, thank you for watching. And please tune in next week. We'll be back at Wednesday at 3:00 Pacific, and we'll see you then.